Welcome, everyone, to our Take Charge of Your Life discussions. Our focus here today is self-mastery and living an abundant life while living into our fullest potential. I am Roberta, and I'm a holistic health practitioner and the owner of Wake Up to Life Wellness, and become more empowered and impassioned every day to help people transform in mind, body, and soul. And this is my co-host, Tish.
Hi, I'm Tish Taylor from Growth Centric Living. Just like Roberta, I am a elite mentorship trainer certified under our mentor, Peter Sage. And we both have this passion that has brought us together in helping people transform, in delivering a better mindset and a better, more empowering way to live.
Yeah, and as Tish mentioned, our mentor, Peter Sage, he is a globally recognized human behavior expert. He's an author and motivational speaker, and really renowned for his deep understanding of the human behavior and self-mastery concepts. He's a 6-time TEDx speaker, and he's a best-selling author with over 150,000 copies in multiple languages. So those are just some of his accolades. And his mission really is to provide individuals with the mindset and tools necessary for personal growth and success, and then empowering us to really achieve our highest potential. So the structure of our call is focused on 3 parts. So we cover the live empowered, which is the mind concept, live healthy, which is the physical body, and live free, which is at a soul level, and how we can, bring concepts and principles into that framework so that we can implement them into our lives and truly live that life that we're seeking.
So we're going to show a clip from Peter. This one we've chosen this week is called Mental Focus on oxygen, hydration, and food. Talks about how to physically empower ourselves and give ourselves energy. And when we talk about physical, we also mean mental energy and powering our brains. So I will share that with you, and then we will discuss it further.
What's the best way to get more energy? We hear so many people say, oh, I don't have the energy, I'm so exhausted, I'm stressed. Well, there are 3 ways to get physical energy, and physical energy is what I'm talking about right now. We'll save non-physical energy for another video. But what most people's go-to is, unfortunately, when it comes to wanting to get more energy, is they want to eat some more food. Right? They think food is fuel, fuel is energy, therefore, oh, I'm lacking energy, I need to eat something. Now, that may be true to an extent if you're a diabetic and you need to be able to raise blood sugar, but for the vast majority of people, you need to remember that there are 3 sources of energy in the physical world. There is food, which is the slowest, hardest form of energy to assimilate. Then there is water. Most people aren't lacking energy, they're just dehydrated. But the number 1 source of energy is oxygen. You can live 30 days without food, 7 days without water, 4 minutes without oxygen. Learn to breathe, and you'll have more energy immediately.
I can certainly relate to going to food as my go-to for fuel. That has always been my mindset, yeah, it's fascinating how we live under habits and beliefs for lifetimes that may not be serving us to our best potential, because I've kind of always felt like that was kind of controlling my life, that craving, which most people can relate to in our life here. So let's see if we can create a bridge between the biology of this and how it affects us and how it affects our mindset. So like I just said, most people unconsciously believe that food is their main source of energy, and they reach for snacks, sugar, or caffeine to get a quick energy boost. And we know now that that is not the ideal way to live fully into our best self in our physical health and our mental energy. So when you understand that oxygen is the primary fuel, then hydration and food will naturally start to shift from seeking external stimulation to mindfully choosing the most effective option. So if I'm not focused on that habit and that mindset of food is my fuel, then I'm going to be open, to more other options to increase my energy instead of reverting to those same old habits. Because honestly, I think we can all agree that eating too much food is a very big deal in our world, in our culture, and there has to be better ways to hack our system and empower it than just going to food.
I think that literally he said my mantra, the food is fuel. I have since changed that. Food is the long-term fuel. but definitely was a bad habit of mine in thinking that we just needed to eat.
Yeah, and when we think of food as it's addicting and it's meant to be addicting, even in the food industry, they create it that way too. So, and I think of in the mindset, I think of the anxiety and the, maybe fear or depression, all the things that affect the mind and the way it functions and what choices it makes. Food can just fill so many of those gaps. When you're stressed, you eat. When you're depressed, you eat. Whatever that trigger is for us. So it's like we find many reasons to eat food as our solution to whatever it is we're dealing with, either in our mind. At least for me, I did that, and sometimes I wouldn't eat at all. That was my option because I'd completely lose my appetite. So there really was no other. I didn't have another tool to kind of bring myself into balance and you know have a better way of functioning, because I didn't have a lot of mental energy. Depression is a very tired mind, and so I didn't have that oxygenated energy. For years, people would tell me wherever I'd go, holistic practitioners, they tell me to breathe. So I can think I didn't breathe right for the first 50 years of my life. I didn't know that that was a thing.
And we're really talking about like a dramatic mind shift here when we compare that to society. Like, think about the advertising that's out there. Red Bull gives you wings, or I can't function without my morning coffee, like that. Those sayings, like we were talking about in our last video, that are going on repeat in people's minds that are really not true. This isn't the way to get energy for your body at all, or your mind.
Yeah, and actually it's crashing our mind, making us more tired so that we can't or won't choose better mindset, habits and choices. It's easy to just default and sit in front of a TV or, just zone out, go do something kind of that really isn't maybe the goals that you want for your life, but you're just kind of, trying to, because you're kind of half tired. I used to be more like that, kind of half tired. I just default to some kind of mindless task rather than being purposeful and really doing the best I can to show up in the world. So that's been a huge shift for me. The mind energy shift has been huge in my work here, in my transformational work. So the tip around that mindset concept of these three principles of food, water, and oxygen is to shift your belief about what really fuels you, to reclaim your power over how you show up. So are you energized or exhausted, and know that you have a choice, right? So it creates a whole new level of self-mastery when we just even become aware and step back and think about it and decide. I remember I was sharing with Tish earlier, when I was in my 20s, at that time, I knew that I was enslaved to sugar and salt, that it was a craving. It was either salt, sugar all day long. It was just crazy. And just because I didn't gain weight didn't mean it wasn't taking up my life, because it makes you tired. These things, if we take them in excess, the food and the caffeine, they actually absolutely cause us to crash. It's a given that they're going to, create that outcome in our physiology if we continue to take them. So even though they give us a few minutes of energy, they give us hours on hours, and maybe eventually a lifetime of, mental and physical fatigue. So yeah, just shifting our beliefs and really making more empowered choices is a huge shift.
And that leads us naturally into the physical, healthy portion of our discussion here, where we can break this down a little bit. When we eat things like sugars, etc., it's almost like perpetuating that mindset. We think we need more because then we crash, so then we think we're low energy again. We actually think it's working. We're tricking ourselves. But when in fact, Peter says, food is the slowest way to get energy, and that's because of the energy it takes for our digestive system. We takes time when we eat something for that fuel, even if we're eating healthy foods, for that fuel to be dispersed and make its way throughout our body in order to provide us with that. So, like I said, my saying now has moved from food is fuel to food is long-term fuel. If you're looking for a pick-me-up, food is definitely not the way to go. And that is even that much more evidenced by the fact that we could live 30 days without it. So shows that our physical body needs it the least.
Mhm.
The other type of energy that we talked about is water. And this is almost like a contrast in that if you're dehydrated, everybody kind of knows what it feels like to be dehydrated. You're sluggish, you're slow. So this is our proof that water also gives you energy. And sometimes like instantaneously, you can feel that sort of like surge come through you as you move water. I've been in different seminars where they've talked about how your mental energy for sure is stimulated immediately by drinking water, and you can do things physically that you thought you couldn't before, or you didn't do as quickly in when we think about like sports, for example, etc., in quick reaction times, etc. That's further evidenced by the fact that we can live 7 days without water. So we do have a recommendation. I'm sure you've kind of heard it, in how much water you're supposed to drink. So in order to prevent that dehydration and that lack of energy feeling when it comes to water within our body, our recommendation is for you to drink half of your weight in pounds in ounces. So if you know what you weigh in pounds, though I am in Canada and we do use kilograms, most of us are still well aware of what our weight is in pounds. And you can drink that in ounces. And I actually now carry around my own water bottle, which helps me with that so that I don't forget, so that it's a constant reminder to drink water so that I don't get dehydrated. And then lastly, back to oxygen. Okay, this really is our main source, like we talked about in the mind, that we want to change your thought process to believe that oxygen is our main source for energy. This is what your body is operating on, and your brain, more so than anything else, requires oxygen to be able to continuously function. And the fact that we can only live 4 minutes without oxygen is certainly a high degree of evidence in that regard. So if you're looking for immediate energy physically, then breathing is the best way to do so. And we can breathe fully. Most of us are practice, breathing very like shallow. When we're talking about energizing our body, we're talking about full deep breaths for 5 seconds in. Breathing in through your nose is a little bit better, and full breaths, so your entire diaphragm and everything, your entire lungs fill with that breath, and then breathing that back out through your mouth to a count of 5 as well is the best way to use oxygen in this way as a direct source of energy to your body.
Yeah, I think there's so many guided meditations out there for teaching us how to breathe, which is like, it's kind of ironic to even say it, but just because we've been sedentary, too, like when we used to be physically active, we would naturally breathe deep, but being sedentary, everything slows down. We don't remember to breathe with that deep level of oxygen, and it affects everything. Yeah, the physiology for sure, because we're not creating that movement in our lymph system and our diaphragm, which is the pump for the lymph system and things like that. So it's a huge deal. We're not getting oxygen to the brain. People have brain fog and they're tired and they're, irritable and they just feel like they can't think straight or clear, or they just have like dysregulation in the mind. So yeah, water's a huge, simple go-to to help us rehydrate and to have there's so many. I have a whole printout on water and how it affects us. There's just a huge amount of impact the water has, not just quenching thirst, for the physiology of the body.
I'm thinking about even like as terms of like equality. How nice is it that our number one sort of like energy source is free for most people around the world, right? Water, maybe secondary. I know there are some third world countries that water maybe or is in fact an issue for them, having clean drinking water. However, oxygen is available for all of us, that being our main source. So we don't need to go find other things for that. We can't use any excuses either, as far as we can't afford good food or that kind of stuff when we're talking about energizing ourselves.
So excellent tips and ideas there for that. And our last section is living free from the soul level, and how do we live, how create that soul path that helps us get closer to our evolution of what we want to become, right? So in this concept, we were just thinking of that if we think as food is our primary energy source, but for the soul, it isn't fed by food. We think we need something from outside of us, but that's going to make us feel better, to be okay. And I know that's certainly something I've been programmed on, maybe that's the human condition, but wanting something outside of me when I get anxious or whatever, like maybe that person needs to change, or I need to go do something to take my mind off it, or to some kind of entertainment or excitement that I love, so that I don't have to feel this. There's always something outside of me that is trying to get me to pay attention to it, where I've really been on this journey to practice being present and being content no matter what situation I'm in. And so I think about the soul, it doesn't thrive in dependency on outer things. It really expands in freedom from within, from the natural elements that are already available to us. So we think of going out in nature, that's good for the soul, right? We think of breathing, right? That's incredibly good for the soul, because really getting into that quiet, calm, meditative state that comes through breathing is how we connect to the non-physical world, into that soul realm where we're getting connection from a greater source, or greater power. So that's what comes up for me when I think about that. It's just not, giving into the external world all the time, and just becoming mindful and asking, what does my soul actually need right now, rather than immediately defaulting to something in the external world.
Excellent. That makes me think of, some of my examples in meditations, and when I'm sitting there, comparing that to, say, a coffee or something like that, and how you start your day. And I can feel my entire soul, my entire self is responding to this meditation, that I get up and I walk away with this, energized, really, there's no other word for it, in like look on life, and you're ready to go into your day feeling very calm and grounded, having done the breaths and sat there with yourself and your soul for those few minutes. And if I compare that to drinking a coffee, then the coffee might be warm, and I've convinced myself that this is what I need right now, this caffeine hit, but I don't even get close to the same feeling from drinking a cup of coffee as I do from a meditation and sitting there with myself. And I liked your recommendation of going out into nature as well, and just where it's so much more cleaner, and you can feel the energy fields from everything that's alive out there. We've done a few meditations on the beach, and that just like brings things up to the next level as far as energizing ourselves and our souls, in being free as well from not being addicted to things like coffee or sugar, etc.
Yeah, I think of nature too as even grounding, right? Getting our body connected to the earth, or our hands, being around trees. There's so many ways to bring in good positive energy. And I think in that state, I mean, really, when we think about it, people who love to be out in nature are usually walkers or hikers, or someone who's going to naturally do something to shift that oxygen level in the body. So it is pretty a powerful environment to implement this while feeding the soul at the same time. So that's really cool. So the tips that we have on that, like we mentioned, was to, before eating, drinking caffeine, or reaching for anything external to feel better, to pause for 90 seconds, inhale deeply like 10 times. And I like to close my eyes to just really get grounded in myself, because otherwise I have a very busy mind. It can get distracted so easy. After that 10 times of breathing deep, drink a glass of water, and then ask, what does my soul need right now? So you can then make a decision from feeling present, rather than listening to the programming that automatically by default just kind of pushes its way forward and takes over. And I think this is really helpful for myself. I'm going to have to implement this tip just specifically, because I do a lot of tools and different practices, but this seems like such a simple way to intercept that reaching for food, to feel it, to feel better, or to even to energize. So yeah, this will be good training for myself.
Sometimes we have these conversations, it's almost like retraining, like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I've fallen back into old habits. To summarize, just before I kind of give you our quote, our ending piece here, we want to change your mindset and help you live empowered by just changing the way you think about what and how your body is energized. Physically, remember that your water is more important than your food, and even more important than that is breathing. So taking a few minutes a couple times a day to take deep breaths and fully oxygenate yourself will leave you feeling much more energized than a coffee or sugar or anything like that. And then lastly, in living free, just incorporating all of this, knowing that your soul strives on a fully energized body, and living free means not being addicted to anything else. So pausing for a second when you feel like you need to eat or you're feeling low energies, 90 seconds, as Roberta has suggested, and doing the breaths, taking in the water, and then really listening to your heart and your soul so that you can live freely as we were meant to. Our quote to help you remember all of that is O2 is the go-to.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. That's a beautiful summary. Yeah, and as I contemplate this, just this one principle and how life-changing really this principle that we brought forth today is, like, it seems so simple, but it absolutely is so mega shifting in so many ways. Because like we said, food dominates a lot of people's lives, and people end up feeling guilty about it. And they feel overweight, and then they don't love themselves. And I mean, it just goes on and on, so if we can intercept those mindsets and those habits, that just shifts everything in our world and turns us in a direction of empowerment and a life that we love, instead of feeling like we're just dragging ourselves through life until we get to the end. So the personal transformation work that we do is just, consistently bringing forth new mindsets, new ways of seeing things, new ways of implementing ourselves and our concepts of life, so that we can have this massive shift. And at the end of the personal growth work, or when we get through that 6 months, there's been so much application and experience and integration into our brain that we are different when we come out at the other end. And so we are, just super passionate about sharing this. There's no reason I always say that, recovery from these things shouldn't take a lifetime. We shouldn't fight these things, these concepts, these programs and default things that every day we get up and almost become where we become convinced or submissive. We acquiesce to the fact that, I'm probably going to fail again today, but that's life. And but really knowing that, because I have to catch myself some mornings. You just kind of feel like, what's life all about, and am I getting where I want to be? And I just have to reset my mindset. But now I have massive amount of tools to do that, and so the more I choose that path, the better my life is. I just feel so much better every day. So yeah, we invite you to reach out and book a free call with us and an inquiry, and just have a 30-minute conversation. We'd love to share more and to explain to you how we could influence your life the way we've been able to transform our own.
Beautifully said. That really is what our ultimate mission is to help other people grow. So if you like these tips or enjoy them, then please join us for our next calls.
Yeah, and also like, subscribe, and share these videos with anyone that you feel would benefit from them. And yeah, we look forward to connecting with you on this journey to transformation. Thank you for your connection here today and for showing up for our discussion. And we look forward to talking with you on the next one.
Have a great day.